Hey guys, and welcome to this next video for linear equations, where we are going to run through a bunch of examples coming out of the Cambridge textbook. So let's get straight into it. Our first equation here is a fairly straightforward equation, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to use opposite operations or inverse operations. So I'm starting with a plus 5, so I'm going to take away 5. And that's going to leave me with 4x equals 12. My inverse operation now is a divide because I'm multiplying 4 by x. So if I divide both sides by 4, I'm going to get x equals 3. So that's a really straightforward one. Something to remember though is we are using inverse operations, and we're doing things step by step. We are not trying to do too much at once. A little bit later, we are going to do quite a bit at once, but we may not. We'll see how we go. But standard procedures, just do one thing at a time. Our next one here, we have some brackets, so we now need to expand brackets first. So I need to expand by multiplying that way and multiplying that way. Now I highly recommend putting those little arrows in so you don't forget to do all of your multiplications. So we're going to have 6x plus 15 equals 4x. So when I say forgetting about the multiplications, an incredibly common error is forgetting that the 3 and the 5 need to be multiplied as well. So quite often you'll see 6x plus 5 instead of 6x plus 15. Really important that we remember to do both those bits inside the bracket. And now we have our fairly straightforward equation to solve. Now this is going to be a slightly odd way of doing it, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take away 4x from both sides. Now what that does, that leaves me with 0 over here, and that's okay. We can have 0 on one side to begin with, and then we're going to work our way to having some other numbers around there. So we haven't done anything to that 15, but 6x, take away that 4x, is now 2x. And now really easy to do, we're just going to take that 15 away because that is the inverse operation we need to do there. Leaves me with 2x equals minus 15. Then because I've got the multiplication, my next inverse operation is we're going to divide by 2, and x is going to be minus 15 on 2. I mean minus 15 on 2, or minus 7.5. So that's some fairly straightforward solving of linear equations. Underneath here, we're going to chuck in some slightly more difficult ones. Now these do say check by substitution. The other one did too. Let's have a go at one of these by checking with substitution. Let's just do the first one now. Again, we are using our inverse operations. So these are the operations that are opposite to what we already have. So if I'm dividing by 4, I want to times by 4. Gets rid of that fraction entirely. Whoops, wrong number there. We'll get that right number in there. 2x plus 3 equals 8. Take away the 3 from both sides, again by that inverse operation, gives me x equals 5. Let's check this out by doing the substitution. So we're going to put in our equation. Okay, and now we're going to substitute in 5 for x. Calculate the top. And then just sort all that out. And lo and behold, we have a big tick because we've done that one correctly. So if we're following those processes, we should be pretty fine. Now here's where we're going to get a little bit tricky, where we're actually going to do 2 things at once. We're going to both multiply by 2 both sides and by 3 both sides. There is a slightly more long-winded way that we can do this, but I'm just going to do it this way. Times 2 on that side, times 3 on the other. We are cancelling out. So I'm going to end up with just the numerator parts. But I'm going to have 2 outside of 4x minus 2. And then I'm going to have 3 outside of 3x minus 1. So you can see there I have essentially cross multiplied. And I'll just make that as a note. That what we are doing is we are essentially doing this whole cross multiply idea. Now I want to expand my brackets, remembering to put in those arrows like we did before, and then actually calculating it out. So 2 times 4x is 8x. Minus 4, 9x, minus 3. So here we are. We're going to now start doing some of our inverse operations. I'm going to start pretty simply. I'm just going to switch our equations around because it's going to make things a little bit easier. And all that equal sign means is that one side is equivalent to the other. So it honestly does not matter which way around we write these, because they mean the same thing. It doesn't matter which way around, whether we have on the right or the left, they mean the same thing. The equal sign says one side is equivalent to the other. So we all gold there. Now I can start by adding 3 to both sides. Leaves me with 9x. And then I've got 8x minus 4 plus 3. So I actually have 8x minus 1. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 8x from both sides. And that's going to leave me with just x equals minus 1. Now if you chuck that minus 1 into that equation, you'll get that as the answer. Last example for this video is trickier again, which is how they're supposed to go. We go a little bit trickier each time. Okay, and we need to do the left-hand side first. We need to do some things with the left-hand side first before we start mucking about with the other stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I did with this question up here. Okay, I'm going to do a cross multiply and I'm going to do it pretty much at the same time. Or it's probably going to work a little bit more closely to the algebraic fractions actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that 4 alone, and I'm just going to work on my left hand side. So what I need to do is I need to find a lowest common denominator. That's going to be 6. My lowest common denominator is 6. And then I do a cross multiply. So over here I'm going to have 2 outside of x plus 2. And on the other side I'm going to have 3 outside of 2x minus 1. And that's all going to equal 4. That denominator is just one thing. So I'm going to have 2 outside of x plus 2 minus 3. Get the right symbol. X minus 1 all over 6 equals 4. Now I'm starting to run out of room, so I'm just going to pop up this way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. And hopefully you can track what we're actually doing. Probably can't see my 6's all that well down there. But what it does is it cancels out the 6 on the denominator on the left and keeps our equation balanced. So we are still at alright, and then 4 times 6, 24. Okay, we do what is easiest first. We get that knocked over. The easiest steps always go first. Or we do what is going to be easiest first. Then we expand our brackets. Collect our like terms. And then we start playing around with our inverse operations, okay? So what we've done, we have reduced the fractions, okay? Then we have expanded the brackets. Or the grouping symbols rather. And now we have collected the like terms. And now we do our inverse operations. Okay, so hopefully you are following along fairly closely with this. Inverse operation here is fairly simple. I'm just going to take 7 away. Leaves me with minus 4x. And then 24 minus 7 is 17. Now I need to divide both sides by minus 4. Divide both sides by minus 4. Get that right in a second. Gives me x equals minus 17 on 4, which is also known as 4 1/4. Or minus 4 1/4. So really important there that we realise that this bit here is a mixed numeral, and this guy right here, well, that's our improper fraction. I just wrote that a little bit far away. And there we have it. Good luck with your questions. I hope this video helps. See you in the next one.